Hi, it's Reva Rue with Rue's Creative Learning Curve. I'm wanting to make some coasters today, and I hope it's something that we can do together, something that might inspire you to use either some of your scraps or with me, actually blocks or parts of blocks. I had made a quilt for my husband as a gift, and I ended up having to size it down. And there's a whole story behind that, but I did. So I ended up with small scraps, but I also ended up with some pretty large scraps. And I already did all this piecing on it, and I thought, what could I make out of that? And I thought, well, coasters would make a nice little gift. The back of the quilt was a Route 66 material that I got online that I thought was really cute. And then there was some material I ended up not using in the quilt, so this would be perfect for that. So since my machine is a Brother Essie 1900, it's sewing and embroidery, I took some of the black material that I had left over, and I went ahead and tried my hand at the embroidery. So this is a classic muscle. It's going to have your GTO, Camaro, and such on it. Some of these I added to some of my scraps. And so what I did is I want my coaster to be a finished 5 inches. And so I cut the material at 5.5 because that's going to allow your 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. So the finished will be 5 inches, but the square is going to be cut at 5.5. Now I went ahead and I cut my batting at 6 inches, and that just allows a little wiggle room so that when you start from the side, it helps if you have any of the nesting of the thread. You know, that happens when you get really close to the edge. So I cut these just a little bit larger. And the reason I chose 5 inches, which you can choose any size you want. I actually had this coaster at the house. I think somebody had given us, and I thought, yeah, that's about the standard when you buy them. And I measured it, and it's right at 4 1/4. So what I did is I took several mugs and such here at the house just to get an idea. That's how I came up with the 5 inches, but you can choose whatever you want. Here is a mug I think my husband, somebody at work gave him. So that's how it sets. Now it's got a more narrow bottom. Then we've got a lot of these mugs. These are the ones you end up getting on vacation. They're pretty big, good hot chocolate and coffee mugs. So that is the 4 1/4 size. So if we did the 5 inch, you're going to have more of allowance. But I digress. Okay, so what we're going to do to start with is put the top material, and we're going to quilt right on this. And I'm going to be using my walking foot since I just got that, and I've got a tutorial on how to put that on the Brother machine. You do not have to have a walking foot for this little project, but I want to get used to mine because I'd like to do small quilting things like for baby quilts or something like that. Okay, so I went ahead and I got started. I have our 5.5 inch square on top of the 6 inch batting. And since I already had gray thread in the machine, I'm going to do some of the lines where the gray will match up the best. And so I did one right here. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it's right here next to the gray polka dot. And it came out really nice with the walking foot. Again, you can use your regular foot, presser foot for this small project. But I'm going to probably change it out when I get into a lot of the black material. And as my confidence grows, I will probably be more comfortable with a shade that's close to matching as opposed to exactly matching. I just got finished with this one, and I would have to say I really love the way this pops up just a little bit. It really gives it that quilted look. So right here I'm just going around the bumper of the car, and then I'm going to go around this wheel. And I think it'd be pretty cute. I went around, I keep thinking it looks like a Nova, but it's a Chevelle. So on this one, I'm just following the outline of the Camaro. So when you get to these curves, you're just going to raise your presser foot lever and then just pivot your material a little bit as need be. So now we've quilted the top to the batting, and now all we're going to do is trim these down to the 5.5 inches, which most of these tops already are. So we're just trimming them up to 5.5, then we're going to sandwich them and complete our little coasters. I really think they're going to turn out really nice. Okay, so now we have this all trimmed down so that the batting matches the top. And so what we're going to do is get the back pieces and we're going to put them right sides together. So on this particular one, I'm going to put the front of this, flip this over, and what we're going to do is we're going to do our 1/4 inch starting about here. Actually, let me see. This doesn't have a lot of, this edge doesn't have a lot of seams on it. So I'm going to actually turn it this way. I think it'd be a little easier. Okay, so I'm going to start here. We're going to leave about a 2 inch, maybe a 2.5 inch gap. So we're going to start here, do a 1/4 inch seam all the way around, and then we're going to stop about, like I said, 2.5 inches, and then back stitch. Now, again, your regular walking foot will not do a back stitch, so you'll want to change that out with your regular presser foot. So let's get started. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start about here and back stitch, go all the way around and leave about a 2 to 3 inch opening on one side and back stitch again. That way, as we're turning the material right side out, that little bit of pulling that you're going to do is not going to undo the seam. So that's the idea behind that. So here's our 1/4 inch. So let's just take us a couple, and there we go. Okay. I don't see my small scissors, so let's just use these serious ones right here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually clip off these little corners, not, of course, into your stitching, but these other right up close to it so that you don't have all this bulk there. And then we're going to trim it inside out. And then one right here. Now if you were to accidentally cut that corner right there, you can always take your machine and then just sew right there, like just right inside of where you've cut, and that should do just fine. So now what we're going to do is turn this inside out, and you just need to be patient with that. So I'm just going to work it a little bit at a time. And we'll get it turned out here shortly. And now to get the little corners, because when you first take them out, they'll be pretty rounded, you know. So there's specialized tools, and then there's things like what I have. I have a very large knitting needle, and I work the little corners out with it. Just be cautious. You know, you just want to coax it or persuade the little corners out. If you push too hard, of course, you're going to make a little hole in those corners, and you know, we don't want that. Okay, there you go. This one will look like a little puppet. Okay, Here's the other corner. And our last corner right here. Okay. Now, here is my smaller knitting needle. The large one is over there, so we'll just work with this one. So you just take your knitting needle and then you just gently persuade it. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to start this top stitch around the edge, and we're going to do that at about 1/8 of an inch. And the reason we're doing that is our seam allowance was 1/4, so we want to make sure we're catching that area that is open where we turned it inside out. For instance, on this one here. Okay, so we've got this little section and we're going to try to catch that. So that's why we want it at 1/8 of an inch. So I've lowered the presser foot. Let's go forward a couple stitches and then let's go back. Do that again. I don't think it caught. There we go. Okay, and just about 1/8 of an inch. And I'll speed this up a little bit and let you all see the finished result. So I have to tell you, I really enjoyed this little project. It used up some scraps. It's great. They can be, you know, really these could be used for beer mug coasters, or, you know, if you love your coffee, you just do your coffee. Actually, I don't even have this one done. Reaper Roo has got another one to do. Okay, let's lay that to the side. But here's our classic muscle. Oh, I love that material with the, you know, the wrench and oil and all that. Different types of cars. And then last but not least, we need to do the cheval. But I think you'll enjoy this little coaster project, and let's move on to more things. Happy sewing!